another 3.5 months before we had a huge influx of men coming here. A lot of these men did have mining knowledge, those being the California 49ers, also the Cornish tin miners, who are very famous on our diggings during our time period. These men were digging for something different. They were digging for the deep leads that are beneath Ballarat and the surrounding areas. The deep leads are the ancient creek beds that are 130 feet beneath the surface. They contained small pieces of gold, but also much larger gold nuggets. That is our second stage of mining, which is called deep lead alluvial mining. 90% of the world's largest nuggets came from this area during this method, including Ballarat's largest nugget, and that is the welcome nugget that was found at Bakery Hill in 1858. That took several men quite a bit of time to bring to the surface, because that nugget weighed 68.9 kilograms in total. It's a very large and very, very heavy nugget. During that type of mining, quartz rock is found to contain gold. Small pieces, but mostly gold powder. And that led to our third and final stage of mining, which is called quartz mining. That is carried out by very large mining companies, requiring a very large labour force, also steam power and machinery, because the quartz rock layers, or reefs as they are referred to, are found 300 feet beneath the surface. Those reefs are as deep as the roof to the floor, as wide as this building, and they ran for miles or kilometres in either direction from any point. There was often more than one layer of quartz, so mining companies are going down to a depth of 1 kilometre beneath the surface. The reefs are then blasted with an explosive called black powder, and the smaller pieces, as you see here, are then brought to the surface. Once at the surface, they are taken to a battery house with massive steam-driven hammers crush that rock into a fine powder like that. That fine powder is then washed across tables to extract the gold from the quartz powder. During that time, those tables contained mercury. Mercury and gold has a natural attraction to one another. So the mercury would extract all of the gold out of that quartz powder, and the rest of the quartz powder is then washed away. The mercury and the gold is then mixed together to form a thick paste called amalgam, and it is the amalgam that is brought to an industrial blacksmith like myself to purify the gold. But before I can purify the gold, I need to remove the mercury, and to do that, I use a retort. Cast iron pot, place the amalgam inside the retort and seal the lid shut. The retort is then placed into a fire or a furnace to boil off the mercury. Mercury boils at 360 degrees Celsius, and the vapours, they simply escape through the end of the tube, don't they? How comfortable are you feeling now, folks? Not very, are you? Because most of you know mercury vapours are extremely poisonous. And the first stage of mercury poisoning is madness. And the second stage of mercury poisoning is death, most likely within 2 weeks of the initial poisoning. So to overcome that problem, the end of the tube is simply in a bucket of cold water. So when the mercury vapours come in contact with the cold water, it turns back into its liquid form and it then falls to the bottom of the bucket. The mercury is then returned to the battery house for reuse. This not only saves the mining company a lot of money, because mercury is not available in Australia, it does have to be imported. It's very expensive to do so. But it also extends the lives of any men using the mercury having that knowledge. Gold is still not pure at that stage. Gold naturally contains copper, silver and iron within it when it does come out of the ground. It is then placed into a crucible like this one. It is made of clay and graphite and can withstand temperatures of 2000 degrees Celsius. In with the gold, a cleaning agent called flux is placed, and that is either potash or borax. The crucible is then placed into a furnace to melt the gold. Gold melts at 1064 degrees Celsius. When we melt the gold, we're also melting the impurities within the gold, and the gold being heavier, it simply goes to the bottom of the crucible, and the impurities being much lighter, they make their way to the top, and they attach themselves to that flux, causing a crust floating on top of the gold. So when the time comes to pour the gold, that crust floating on top of the gold will go to the back of the crucible, it will stick to the crucible, and I'll then be pouring 99.99% pure gold, or 24 karat gold. And that is the sole purpose of the industrial blacksmith, is to purify the gold for the mining company so they can get the best price for it at sale. My gold is currently melting my furnace at the moment, folks. It is at this stage that I'll ask you all to remain behind that line I have down there, because I've been told to tell you that you are at a safe distance if I have an accident. My goal will be at 1200 degrees. It will be a liquid molten metal. And if I do have an accident, I will be splashing it away from myself. So I can now allow everybody to know who is in the second and the third row, they are entirely safe if I have an accident. Because by the time that 1200 degrees of liquid gold passes through the person in the front row, it will be solid when it comes out the back of that person, then only bounce off those people in the second and the third row. So, racing in and getting a front seat, folks, wasn't such a good idea after all, was it? Now, if you do wish to take a photograph of that happening, please have your cameras ready, because I'll only have a 16-second window to pull the gold in front of you. And please make sure all the lights and flashes are off, because they are so intense nowadays I will not be able to see what I need to do. Now that I have your attention, Sovereign Hill has a night show. It is called Aura. It is on tonight. Show start time 9:15 p.m. It tells the story of gold from creation right through to present day. We move you through 3 different theatres throughout the night, 2 of which are at the back of Sovereign Hill. That is an area you do not get to go to. You can book those tickets online. Gold is an amazing conductor of heat. If given a reason, it can lose that heat very quickly. Your light's on. 1200 degrees allows me enough time to carry it over to the table and pour it into the mould in front of you. A lot of that heat is now transferring out through the bottom of the mould into the top of the table. So in a very short period of time, that gold is 100% solid. Totally solid. I do like to ask, who wants to race over here, grab a piece of gold and take off out the door with it? Adults don't normally put their hands up because most of them understand the concept of 900 degrees, where it will instantly ignite the piece of timber on contact. It's not going to happen. That gold is now going to take 2.5 hours to cool naturally, just sitting there. I know I love gold that much. I've got 2.5 hours to stand here and watch that happen. What, you don't have 2.5 hours to sit there and watch that happen? Really? Did you just miss the part where I poured the liquid? I don't even know why I bother half the time. I guess I can speed up that cooling process so I can get you out of my room. As I said, gold is an amazing conductor of heat. If given a reason, it can lose that heat super fast. 900 degrees going into that trough of water. Please raise your hand if you think that water is now hot. Please raise your hand if you think the water is not hot. Very good. The water's not hot, folks. What you saw happen to the heat from that gold, it escaped as steam straight up into the air. Gold has to contact something to conduct or release its heat. It was in contact with that water that was immediately against it, boiled off and went up as steam as you saw. At 900 degrees on the table, I can put my finger within 1 millimetre of that gold and not feel any radiant heat whatsoever. I can from the crucible of the mould, but not the gold. So I guess all I've got left to do now is just to think about picking that up. Hasn't been 40 seconds yet, has it? So what do you care? You've paid money for entertainment from coming into Sovereign Hill, haven't you? And you just want to see this very, very handsome, and very, very, very intelligent industrial blacksmith burn his fingers for entertainment, don't you? One of you could have said no. You know what I was thinking on the way into work this morning? Maybe my whole audience in one of my gold balls, maybe everybody in it said no. That's not going to happen, is it? No, I guess it's not your hand then, is it? Should have said no. There you go, folks. 100 troy ounces of pure 99.99% gold, or 24 karat gold, because that has now been smelt and purified. 100 troy ounces is 3 kilograms. Doesn't look like much for 3 kilograms, does it, folks? But to give you some sort of idea, concept, weight and size difference between items, that is the same weight as a 3-litre bottle of milk. Vast size difference between the two, as you can see. That's how dense gold is. Is the front shiny? Nice and shiny. I can answer questions outside, lad. Nice and shiny. It's lovely, isn't it? Now, you're all sitting there wondering, how much is that worth? Would you like to know how boring that question gets? I mean, I can tell you it is right up there. Maybe some of the more intelligent people in the room would like to know how quickly I could have picked the gold up from that drop. I do find that more fascinating than the price. Would they like to know the answer to that? Yeah. So there's two of us. Not surprising, a bunch of people just want to see somebody burn the ends of their fingers up. Anyway, folks, as soon as the steam stops, 7 seconds, 900 degrees gone in 7 seconds, boom, find that more fascinating than the price. But then again, other than us two, the rest of you are just sitting there going, how much, how much, how much, how much. So, what we are currently looking at is around about 222,000 Australian dollars, sorry, 422,000 Australian dollars for what is sitting in my hand. It has come down from the highest it ever was around about 6.5 weeks ago. That's a good thing, because the only reason why gold does climb in price is because of all the bad things that do happen in the world. Other than that, folks, enjoy the rest of your day.